I can't. I'm already breaking it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this VisionGaming broadcast of mYinsanity versus Scythe Seraph in week number 7 of the Ibex Gaming League. I'm Deromas. Alongside me today, a very special guest, one we haven't seen in a while, is Danny Boy. Danny, how are we doing today?
I'm not too bad here. It seems to be that for the last 6 weeks here, there's been trouble, chaos, and mayhem been thrown into it. And apparently within 2 minutes, everybody turns into statues. Although it's nice to see a few cracks on the surface, Deromas.
So, and already in swift Danny Boy fashion, he's already left me uncomfortable within a matter of 30 seconds of talking.
I can't leave if you like. Hello,
no,
everybody.
I'd rather you not. No. I'd rather you not. That would make my life way more difficult for this cast, because for today, we have an interesting one. Obviously, it's not VisionGaming like we used to. We've got two completely different sides. We've got the team that we completely caned 3-2. Okay, I wouldn't say it's a caning. We won. Let's just say that much. But mYinsanity and Scythe Seraph both fighting for that playoff spot, and things are going to be quite tricky for both sides here.
Well, it certainly is, and it's somewhat a strange description to some degree. You know, referring to a caning, it seems to be a difference in terms of us into the commentary booth. You know, back in the day, that used to be normal. We used to get discipline for a poor performance, so that's what you should be getting, in an absolute hammering when you are not at your best here. And essentially, you know, Deromas, when we look at terms of the standings and everything, that sort of verbal talking as this essentially the weeks how each match has went by. I mean, you talk about quite nicely. This is the VisionGaming channel. This is where VisionGaming's been, but now today seems a little bit different. First of all, because what number was it? Sunday. We watched quite literally VisionGaming requirement to go in essentially the top 2 and hence have that tiebreaker to see who's the number 1 seed. Now it's a whole different complexion to see what mYinsanity's run here, and for the rest of the league here, they'll be tuning in and going, well, how did they get there?
So, well, this is exactly how both sides got there, right? mYinsanity with 2 wins right off the rip against the bottom 2 sides of the table, Dive and Ladies First, losing 3-1 to T2, a bit of an expected result for them. And Napo Money, a 2-3 loss, I'd argue is probably their biggest outlier here in this league standing so far. It's definitely a result they didn't want to have heading into these final couple of weeks. And again, that VisionGaming 3-2 loss as well, a pain in their side, but a bit expected. ADE, a 3-0 result for them. Yeah, honestly, it was a much needed one. It was in fact, they had to for this 4th playoff spot, and now they have Scythe Seraph. And we look towards the other side here. Napo Money, a 3-1 result for Scythe Seraph there. VisionGaming, they ended up beating them on the mainstream 3-1 as well. A loss 3-0 to ADE, and a loss 3-1 to T2. 3-2 to Dive and 3-1 to Ladies First, again making somewhat light work, I guess, to Dive and Ladies First, but again, both of them going all 5 to Dive there. Now, in regards to form, it's very tightly knit on how these both sides are going to work out here, Danny.
Certainly is. I'm actually going to jump the schedule a wee bit in typical fashion to myself here, and request that the league table can be brought up here, because I think that's where the conversation really does kick off, Deromas, in terms of what all of that really did mean. What is the build-up? What is essentially the plot line, the story, the narrative this evening? And you talk that keyword form on the far end at the right. The word streak. It's an oddity in terms of somewhat us in terms of, say, a pure English language. We would look at it as in the last 5. Is it a win? Is it a loss? In some sports, maybe even a draw. That's not possible. But essentially here, where mYinsanity and SOS is essentially in that sort of situation. They've got their last couple of wins. They're essentially tied here. It's what can they do here? And you know better than anybody else what form is. So just even based on a pure numbers, is it? What is form for either of these 2 sets?
Well, a good result, back-to-back results, especially in the league phase, is solid form. And you take a look at Scythe Seraph, they've got that back-to-back result, right? 2 wins on the trot. mYinsanity looking to find that consistency, but they've only managed to get one win. It was a win-loss win in their last 3, if I remember correctly. And in terms of what this means for today, Scythe Seraph, they'll be looking at that and thinking, yeah, okay, we can take on these guys. They're a bit inconsistent, and if they don't show up on the day, we have them. But mYinsanity, they're going to be like, right, if we actually get a result here, I think things will look a bit better. But there is a lot to get through in terms of like how these results go here, Danny.
Well, it certainly does, and for anybody who may just be listening and not watching, that seems to be a bit odd, but you know, if you can tune in as well, but I might as well briefly read out here in terms of from SOS, mYinsanity and AD, really in terms of where the competitor is. It's a 4-2, 3-3 and a 3-3 in terms of how the split in terms of series won and lost for the respective 3. And to some extent here, mYinsanity has got the easier of anybody else here today. Even a 2-3 loss, they're somewhat near enough guaranteed. It would take a monumental set of results and somehow the Jenga blocks to fall for them, somehow to slip out of a top 4 situation here. If they win, they're in, they're safe, and Sod will be certainly sending save our souls messages. It will end up sinking to the bottom of the Titanic. That's how unlikely a loss would send them out of it. But it is a possibility this evening because, you know what, hard to put it this way here. What was it, RCS, season 3 off the top of my head here, it was win percentage, it was flip side tactic with a 56% to a 54. We're talking less than a game win here. So essentially, the bottom line is here, who loses is out. But it's just how good is your results going to be. And for the last week coming into Roma's here, you probably want to be in mYinsanity situation because they've still got everything within control in their own hands as destiny is going to lay in front of them. And that's arguably the best position you want to be before even the ball's kicked off tonight.
Yeah, and well, talking about a ball kicking off, here's all the stats for all the kickoffs that we've had across the past couple weeks then. And well, we've seen Kiva, Narwhal and Melux not too long ago, 2 days ago. They were looking to be a bit of a threat to VisionGaming, and they were that in the latter half of the series. They were applying a lot of pressure. They were 2-0 down, and with nothing to lose, they clawed it back to Champions Field, which was the first time VisionGaming witnessed that stadium during the entirety of the season. Now, on the other end, Scythe Seraph, they beat VisionGaming, and it was a surprise to all, I think, when that happened. So we know that they have that determination, that grit to get a result here. And I think just taking a look at the stats here, a quick look around, I think Melux is standing out for me in terms of defensive resilience with 2 saves per game here then.
Well, that is sort of the oddity of it. 2 saves does look like a good number, but to some extent as well, what is actually going to be good across the league, that we'll find out how it comes across here. But let's say, if we can save 2 shots here and only concede 1 as a team here, that should be enough here by any stretch of the means to get you right through. Usually on average it's about 1.87 if you're a defensively sound team. If you're any higher than that over a league across like 7 to 9 games, then you've got problems. So to some extent, at least the numbers not hitting 3 or 4, that you might see the likes of Dive and Ladies First, where the numbers are going to be massive because unfortunately they can't find any offense here. So it's a nice balance, it seems to be across the table there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to call out on the other side, Mystica probably one of the key players to look at in front of net today. The 67.31% goal participation rate. I say in front of net, but also opening up them opportunities as well, finding the assists, finding the shots, and certainly finding the back of the net, regardless of whether he's the playmaker or the out-and-out striker. Now, Mystica, an all-round player, very solid up in front of net. The assists, the saves as well. Genuinely going to be on our radar for tonight.
Well, again, that's sort of the question that somewhat been alluded to. We were even just briefly talking about this, who's running this fabulous production for the last 7 weeks in the form of Cass. Everybody probably knows him in the Swiss scene. If you're not, has put the statistics across within the Swiss Discord. What's the likelihood, the possibility, willing to take all the feedbacks in terms of the outcome, and those numbers is what you're seeing on your screen here. But that's our major question is our, on that Sarah side in terms of, is this player going to be good enough? Is the dynamic still there? When you look on the opposite side of things here, Jeromas, I remember the likes of Kiever and Milox back when TCS was the top Premier League of Switzerland. Now you have in terms of everything else but the question is, how good is these, and this is no disrespect, the unknown names. How good is he? Well, he's playing two veterans. Yes, they may beat VisionGaming, but can they beat arguably a royalty in the Swiss League tonight?
That's what we're waiting for. We're certainly waiting for Scythe Seraph to get on the pitch. It's what's causing us to hold up at the moment. But yeah, just a quick mathematical rundown for you then on how things will go tonight. And we've already briefly mentioned it here, Danny, but the winner of this, guaranteed through playoffs. The loser of this is preying on the 5th and 6th battle to determine what result is going to go there. So not only do you lose and you think, uh-oh, we're sat 4th, you're sat then pondering for the rest of the week to consider maybe the potential chance of getting knocked out entirely, and that would be heartbreaking for either side here tonight. So I hope to see plenty of passion on the pitch tonight.
Well, it's just not necessarily about passion. It's, that's sort of essentially that itchy finger for the players ready to get things going, to Romas. But that sort of sense of feeling 6-7 weeks, you could do something about it. It is essentially that old mantra, do or die or ride, essentially. So can they do it? Will they do it? Well, it's essentially over to the players, to Romas.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here it is then. We have two teams fighting to make playoffs at 3rd and 4th position. If Scythe Seraph wins, mYinsanity are going to be relying on a lot. If mYinsanity wins, Scythe Seraph are going to be relying on a lot. Whoever wins this will be comfortable. Whoever loses is going to feel the wrath of 5th and 6th. We head to Mattenfield for game number 1 as both teams look to get ready to hop on the pitch.
Well, certainly so. And a game 1 that is essentially monumental in terms of how this evening will go here on VisionGaming for the Ibex Gaming League, and as just as much as the eagerness and the readiness of it, you can almost somewhat sense the nervousness of the players in terms of whether they want to be starting or not.
Looks like neither team wants to jump the gun here. Looks like one team still hasn't arrived, so that say as much as you will here. We're in another standoff where neither team wants to get on the pitch.
Well, I'm not going to put blame or anything in terms of either way it's going to be. I think that's the first time it's happened to myself while here. So I think the players know fine lightly they're going to be on thin ice with me today. But essentially, whether it's going to be this opening bit of it, for the neutrals point of it, to Romas, everybody's hoping for SOS essentially get the opening win here today, just in the case of to see what mYinsanity do, because if they drop here essentially a 2-3, it's a bit of an odd one here, and it seems to be already a technical difficulty has already been the reason why the match hasn't started.
I love a technical difficulty before the series even starts. Or like we'll call the shots now. We'll make the excuses early just to see if anyone budges, but I don't really believe in that. They have substitutes to fill in. If they have that chance to bring them in, then they might as well. And Scythe Seraph, they will be starting with a disadvantage if they do play this sub, which we haven't really covered. But yeah, you'd like to see both teams starting strong with their best team in mind, right? Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, while everybody's somewhat looking towards the potential substitute so soon, I do have a problem, actually, and funny enough, I believe it's on VisionGaming side of things. No Tooth wasn't here at all. Connect folks stepping in. I mean, that's shocking already.
Bringing up Toy on a stream where none of the VisionGaming players are even on the pitch. As we say that, we do have the players finally on the pitch, ready to play at Mattenfield, and we've got an exciting first game for you as Kiva takes us away and looks to pick up the mid boost.
If there's going to be shade thrown in any department, they knew exactly and who it was going to be coming from. But the man that has been doing a fair bit of talking behind the scenes there, getting one touch in the secondary follow-up, not necessarily going on target. He should have mYinsanity up by one for the opening bit. But as I did say there, Jeromus, if you're neutral, you are hoping mYinsanity do drop the first game to some extent to see what they are capable of doing while playing under the cosh.
I think both sides dropping a game here early on will cause significant amount of pressure for both these teams, and I feel like it'll be interesting to see which one recovers. Kiva, though, will try and create an opportunity with Narwhal. Nothing really too much there. We saw a lot of this against VisionGaming, a lot of half opportunities, nothing really threatening from mYinsanity. So hopefully they've resolved that in the past 2 days. It's a lot to ask in a 2-day turnaround for the final game of the season, but again, anything can happen in this beautiful game.
2 days is a long time, and unfortunately a few seconds is an eternity as a defender. That's a mistake and a half.
Well, Narwhal with a clear-cut shot. Svelfy looking out of position, and I don't even want to know what Hexos was doing on that backboard. Expecting a high ball, just didn't come. It is 1-0 to mYinsanity, and it was a quick turnaround. Like, they've been on the offense throughout the entirety of this game, and Mystica still suffering with ping issues, it seems.
Well, he did say that there was a potential ping problems coming into it with the Wi-Fi, whether it's sort of a hotspot or, you know, a hub of some kind here. But you, to some extent, if you know that you're coming into a big match, you know, an hour beforehand, potentially maybe scrimming or trying to do something, you know, essentially know about the situation. But, you know, the schedule of the match, they knew the days and the cause of it was the sub not there again. But again, that's potentially excuses or reasons. Others to decide on what it is, but either way of it, 2 minutes near enough gone by here. There's mYinsanity with that opening goal so far, causing the tempo of the game being dictated purely by them.
Now controlling the ball from their back row, will carry it forward. No pressure from Scythe. Seraph will just allow that ball to roll forward into the final third of their half. Narwhal will touch this now to the corner, and Hexos is there to pick up the pieces, carry it downfield. Doesn't have a lot of boost to work with. We'll get a flip reset, leave it for Mystica. Mystica with a shot. It wasn't really too threatening. Kiba was there, waiting on the back. It's now for the follow-up here from Hexos. A bit too slow to that ball, and the counter-attack is on. Kiba has a clear-cut opportunity, finds it perfectly into the left-hand side. Lynette, 2-0.
Just as simple as you wanted, as easy as he dreamt it coming in this evening. But you have to give credit to the pass for slicing the pitch entirely, well, in half. Do you know what? mYinsanity, no matter what, especially with the Melox and Kiva as a team throughout the history of the Swiss leagues, and you know, it's going back, you know, when I'll even go back to his original name, Switchblade J and Digital Bacon, along in season 1. What they were able to produce it and was threatening the likes of Sapphire and you know, essentially Yagi, what was their capability, the rival future stars at the time. That's just how long it goes. As the third one gets thumped on in here, I think mYinsanity might be looking at the sweep this evening.
I will say, Scythe Seraph just struggling to do anything at the moment. Mystica suffering with ping. Hopefully it's stabilized. No, back up to 60 it goes, and it looks like they're looking at an uncomfortable game one, and we'll have to call their substitute in if they knew the smart play. But Narwhal on that kickoff to try and find something, but it was intercepted by Hexos there, and back in the corner it'll go. Kiva just get a clear on this, beats out one, and Melox already up, looking for that backboard. Double tap is on, it's free, will find it. Clean opportunity, and that's 4 now, and Scythe Seraph might as well write off this game number 1.
Well, we were just talking about the sort of the save and the statistical side of things. I did say 2 would be essentially being put across here, and I'm just somewhat having a a brief read and a look at in terms of the information that we've gathered around here as everybody dancing around the ball. And you probably already know this, Jeromus, in terms of the thoughts, the statistics, and even necessarily the survey that was going around at the start of the season. Nobody would have had mYinsanity even talked about at this point of the tournament.
No, a bit of a grey man situation here this side. 1 vote for the dark horse of the league, and Yeah, I mean, they're quite comfortably showing Scythe Seraph how to play this game, and you're looking at faint opportunities for Scythe Seraph up the pitch now. Maybe a consolation here to ease their minds into game 2, but that, without a doubt, was heading towards net, saved away by Swiftly. But they're back on the attack again, mYinsanity, looking threatening, looking to pursue more goals, and Kiva's going to slot that one into the top right. And it's just beautiful attacking play by mYinsanity.
5 of the finest you can get, and it's just as easy to get. And I was just having a brief look at the sort of the ping situation now, settled down to 32, but I would suggest probably at this point, as you were alluding to earlier, the sub needs to be probably called back in here, because, you know, how often do you want to play with that element of doubt? Will it spike again?
Well, you know what it's like, Danny, playing with a teammate who has high ping, or at least inconsistent ping. You've got nothing better to do but to sit back and allow the ball to come to you, and it just hasn't been working for Scythe Seraph. They're going to need some sort of aggression, because they keep getting broken open on their back lines. If they can keep that ball upfield for longer than 30 seconds, you might be seeing a different story. But right now, mYinsanity, very much so comfortable here. The ball kind of stuck in the midfield as a touch by mYlox, and again, a bit of a nothing one. Game 1 goes the way of mYinsanity here, and Scythe Seraph will be hanging their heads in shame, it has to be said, with the ping issues of Mystica.
Certainly so, and unfortunately for her, you know, a one-player fault, arguably a team's decision, that will potentially haunt them. It'll be interesting to see how it develops throughout the rest of the matchup in the well, essentially their tournament line, because they will essentially only have 2 left from this point here. But Jerome was flicking through the survey and, you know, trying to jot down essentially a note or 2. But to some extent, I didn't need to this evening. What is arguably the biggest standout, Kiva, top goal scorer, top points in terms of that there, you know, saves in terms of his favour, and arguably not one person within the league rated him either, you know, a personality clash perhaps, but a disrespect to the man's ability, because it seems to me he is the man putting the massive threat on this evening.
Kiva performing exceptionally well so far, mYinsanity, and in fact there was only 100 points between each player here for mYinsanity, and 12 shots to 6 really shows you how much on the offensive mYinsanity been playing, and it's quite upsetting to see. We've hyped this up to be the decider for the playoffs, and all we're seeing is mYinsanity taking it to Scythe Seraph. Now, will we see a substitute here for Scythe Seraph? Is yet to be known. No, they will not. Mystica stays on the pitch here for Forbidden Temple. Again, another risky call for them.
Well, it certainly is, but to some extent it may be their only option, and hence why pushing through essentially the pain barrier. But while essentially everybody else on the pitch is touted to be the best, touted to essentially be the man that looks towards the rafters, it's the man from the grave puts this one through.
Well, a risk got perfectly calculated. We were talking so negatively about his ping issues. He's managed to find one here early on, 7 seconds in. And Scythe Seraph have the advantage now. It's up for mYinsanity to, you know, go backless scoring ways. That's a kickoff and a half. Unfortunately, nothing to come of it. Mystica will control and cleared downfield by Kiva's challenge there. So, yeah, a bit of an interesting start to this second game, and it looks like Scythe Seraph have finally woken up, and Mystica may be clearing his doubts when it comes to his ping issues. However, this ball cleared downfield. No, up high goes Kiva. Down it'll go. Swelfie's there to pick up the pieces.
This is a net mYlox to the backboard, mind you. Kiva up it goes, needs a defensive hold. But you talked about the demo game on Sunday with VisionGaming from the playbook. Harbored a boot from the backside.
mYlox causing all the pain on the back lines. Gets rid of the last defender, and we're all tied up here. And with only 40 seconds played, it's quite level, quite even. Hexos has a chance now to get an early third on the board. Will it happen? Swelfie. The touch gets cleared away by mYlox, and that'll stop any doubts at the moment. Naox has to get there. That's not comfortable though, and into the corner it'll go.
Well, Swelfie trying to hold this line defensively, but you've got to attack it if you're wanting to essentially push up. This one needs to be into the box here. Narwhal drops it. Keeper with a simple shot. Keeper deals with it well for Melox to essentially follow. Nobody, Prowlands or the 18-yard box or the wing to gather the ball here. Narwhal not beaten, mind you. And just like that, about 90 seconds gone by, much more of what we had built up as arguably the matchup of the week.
Yeah, stable now in the midfield for both sides. Hexos with a fantastic redirect off the sidewall. What a shot to make it 2-1, and what a way to make your statement here if you're Scythe or Seraph.
Just when you wanted a bit of magic, and the man that has been touted within the top 10 players of the league, showing a bit of class here, and Swifty to follow suit here. He was equal to his teammate. Gem of brilliance here, but a crowning moment perhaps here. Swifty follows through for a 3-1 mYinsanity. Your wibbling crown essentially could be toppled here from the legends of old.
It's a rule 1 here on the side. It'll change the dynamic of this game once more. Hexos doesn't get the best of touches, and this is a dangerous challenge from Swelfie there, but now doesn't really capitalize too much on it. Plays it high and it will go slowly towards net. Swelfie with a touch, that's dangerous. It lurks in front, but no one was willing to commit for mYinsanity. Again, a tap towards the backboard. This 2v2 play looking very uncomfortable for Scythe the Seraph, and it just didn't play out for the Mystica. The stronger player, I'd argue, for this side when his ping is in check, was kept to his own device.
Well, Joe, the rule 2 certainly being held there, and a few maybe love hearts maybe passing around here. New Valentine's Day was, essentially over the weekend, rose-colored petals, chocolates, flowers could have been easily brought here, but it's a simple hug onto the pitch on your arguably most important matchup of the season. Players disgust me these days.
Beautifully said by Danny there, the poet, in the commentary box, as Kiva looks to rip things open with words of his own. Nothing to be done there. The ball in the corner does get a beat on one though, does Melox, and back to the exact same corner. Swelfie has something to work with here. Will play the pinch, gets a beat on Narwhal, and I'm starting to have lag issues of my own.
Well, if you're interested in, of course, the particular business, I believe Team Shireen is doing the Danny Boys Valentine's cards for next year. You, of course, can happily get them through. Of course, Cast2 will be probably supplying them at some point here. And unfortunately, well, it might be a lag or two. That one was a chip shot right to the back wall, mind you, for Swifty that dealt with it. So we don't have a 2v2 problem. We don't likely have a player causing the lag to be extremely used as an excuse for the shovel, but that one will need to be Miska's moment to get out of it.
Looks back in the corner, applying more pressure to the Seraph side. That's a great clear though. Hey, Hexos has something to work with. Gets a beat on one. It's just the net left, and it will find it eventually after a dink off the crossbar. But Scythe the Seraph have taken the lead once more here for the 3rd time in this game, after looking like a non-existent entity in the first.
I'm just laughing at that because I've been playing Minecraft for the last 3 days here on a server on BFBS. Essentially, just that was the screaming of everybody in the VC. Everybody pick up your items before they get deleted. Like mYinsanity left the marble quite literally at the brain cell. Not one thought the challenge or drop back quick enough. Let poor old Keeper with his knocking in ancient knees here, trying to jump through the youngster. Wasn't happening oral, mind you, trying to force that one right through for a 3-3 game. Denied at the goal line, but 40 seconds still left, mind you, to put another one against mYinsanity here.
mYinsanity trying to buy diamonds in the final 30 seconds, only to potentially find Lapis if they don't get a goal here, and Swelfie is looking to try and double the advantage. That's a great pop up by Mystica. Will get beat out by Narwhal though, had the better angle to get a touch on that and cleared away, but beside the Seraph, they don't need to push forward here too aggressively. Just keep the ball where the net isn't. However, that's a misplay by Mystica. It'll fall back into the corner. That's a 50, looking dangerous, but Mystica and Hexos communicating well. Only one player to it, a knockdown field, and the clock keeps ticking here. Final 0, the ball into dead time, and Kiva struggles to keep that one up. Swelfie will leave it. Mystico with a fake, and Scythe and Seraph have equaled up the game 1-1 here.
Certainly have. And Joe, what? Joe, that's her. Essentially, that phrase there, finding the diamond. At what point here, do you essentially stop digging? Is that sort of what you were trying to be hip and cool to Rumus last week? I'll try to join you. Is the man ready to keep on digging and find an empty cave, or essentially the cave full of them here? At what point do you stop here? And essentially, mYinsanity, well, is it a pickaxe or a shovel, or is it simply a hotel ticket at this point?
We can only wait and see, Danny. I mean, it's essentially a best of 3 now, right? And I love saying that phrase whenever it goes 1-1. I'm sure it riles you up deep down inside. But
no, I love it.
Stadium, and it's a best of 3. It's everything to play for. If you win this game, you're looking comfortable. You got 2 match points to work with. If you lose, you're looking at it and thinking, okay, not to sound like a villager or anything, but we're running out of ideas here.
Well, it's nice to know that Jeromas can be the main character or the NPC, the man with multitude of talent. As to say, what a multitude of talent. What, you don't like compliments, Jeromas?
Hey, I don't like being no NPC.
Well, thankfully, he's not being controlled by, unfortunately, essentially what would be the Robot Wars and the NPC, but unfortunately not stuck into the corner of the ball. However, in this case, certainly has. But since we might as well talk about the old times as well, you just have to cast your mind back to, 2025. I still had a few grey hairs in a hospital bed. But this was a similar situation to Roma's. You were just a young lad, you probably wouldn't remember this. But Dive was once here, SOS was once here, and SOS struggled in this moment.
Call back to last season, and it's absolutely true. I have no recollection of any of it. I was too young of a lad, but Scythe and Seraph have been here before. They felt the defeat before. And they're looking to turn things around, but mYinsanity will find the back of the net after that touch from Narwhal. And it looked to take a deflection, I'm pretty sure, from the last man of Mystica. Just wasn't enough. It was tucked away into the right corner. And mYinsanity looked to go on with how they started in game number 1, forgetting about game number 2 entirely.
Joe, it was that long ago. Jeromas didn't have a beard. Now he is certainly growing one. And I think, unfortunately, the fence at that point there would have had a forest growing. It was long, meandering, dithering, and unfortunately those words that you can't certainly have in terms of the backline. You have to be strong, firm, and rooted as Narwhal follows the second one home.
Quick 1-2 from mYinsanity. Scythe and Seraph cannot dip their heads now. They've still got plenty of time left in this game here. Yeah, mYinsanity have just let the floodgates open already. 5 shots in the first 85 seconds here. They love to be up front on that positive side of the field, and Narwhal is carrying them home. And they're looking very good at the moment. Narwhal looking to find a redirect, just being that staple piece for mYinsanity at the moment. Scythe and Seraph, they need that star playback, a Hexos, bit of magic maybe, just to get themselves back into this year.
Well, if they don't, and Jeromas, are you CPR trained by any chance?
I am indeed. Fully medically trained at that front.
We have a first aider here. So if SOS needs one, we do have one at the standby. But hopefully we'll have a goal well before that point. But Monsieur looking pondering and unfortunately floundered right all the way back to the defensive line here. So I hope you've got staying alive ready, Jeromas, because you could be needed here in the next game.
That's a fake by Hexos. Couple of ankles broken. I'm not sure I can fix that one, but nothing to come of it from there. Hexos looking to find a pass inside, does find it. Mystica's there, a bit too high though. He's going to leave it uncomfortable for the follow-up touch, and it's easily cleared away by Narwhal. Honestly playing exceptionally well in this third game so far.
Well, if you're looking maybe to fix that one, it may be Skelecrow, but there's certainly no wizards in this one here, but this one could be bewitching for the scoreline. Doesn't happen, moves it go, and Melox drops back And he has somewhat ducked and weaved the potential demo threat here to the back wall here for Missia. It's awkward defense here, and this one should be buried. It hasn't been, though.
What? There was just no boost for Scythe to get on the back end of that one. It was a light touch. This is a good drop down pass though, but immediately intercepted by mLux. They're looking threatening, but also in defense, they're looking locked tight as well. There was that one opportunity for Scythe Seraph, and it just wasn't capitalized on. And who's to say we could be seeing 50 points to Gryffindor here. mYinsanity tucked this one away. It's cleared down the other side.
I have a feeling you're more of a Hufflepuff person, though, Duromus.
Nothing wrong with that. Shout out the yellow house.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it. He really wanted to be at least Slytherin.
Oh, I'm not that bad of a person, surely. I do not have that sort of bite in me, but with a minute left, we're going to need Scythe Seraph to find more than just a bite here, I feel. Because the goal of mYinsanity has been kept completely locked tight. They're on for a clean sheet here in game number 3.
Well, sometimes it's not about the person in terms of it's the quality in that shot. Wide it goes here in Swifty. Unfortunately, making records for possibly all the wrong reasons. The likes of Nukes and Rivera, unfortunately considered, and this may be, some would say, nasty. Not in terms of the top end, in the bottom of this conversion rate of shots. Swifty may be joining that record here, but they won't care if it gets to a goal. Another one ricochets off to the woodwork with about 10 seconds left. mYinsanity in pole position here in terms of their season.
You can't say the Scythe Seraph haven't had their chances. They've just had that lack of conversion. It's just like watching Wales in the Six Nations. They've had their chances, just not really taking them too well. This ball will hit the ground, and mYinsanity 2-0 up, 2-1 up in the series, and they're staring at match point and playoff position.
So I was wondering how long it was going to mention for Wales in the Six Nations.
20 minutes.
Yeah, about 20 minutes. Thankfully, they don't have relegation in the Six Nations. They would have been long gone, same with Italy, but Ireland may be on similar footing. But this is not, however, the match of relegation. It is promotion dreams, and mYinsanity has done essentially everything what they needed to do here.
Swiftly leaving for a quick car change, I believe, and we shall head to Utopia Coliseum with Scythe Seraph staring down the barrel of just retaining position in the league and not looking for anything further. Now, mYinsanity, they keep playing the way they're playing. I'll have no issue with them getting to playoffs. Scythe Seraph are going to need something quick. Maybe, like, literally, I'd like to see them take something off the rip here because mYinsanity have all the momentum in the world.
Well, we did back to the early noughties. It may be a blade, unfortunately. Is it going to be a battle top or a loose screw, as that one will be the defensive problem here that mYinsanity would be praying for? Hexus just gives an old-fashioned Irish boot downfield here. Another one follows suit here. Amicia should be passing that. He has done so. Soft control, and Narvik has got at least past one, but the problem is it's still in the final third.
Yes, indeed, but this will be a clear-cut chance to send that one back downfield. Kiva looking for that follow-up touch, didn't get it, so Scythe will pick this one up. A pinch inside, leaves nothing for mYinsanity. Both of them sat back here as Mystica tries to get beat on the third, and that could have been an opportunity, but cleared well by, I think that was mLux there. So Kiva now look for another attacking opportunity. That's not the touch Hexos wanted, but Seraph instead to pick it up in the midfield, but mLux back the other way. Mystica, the only one with boost, the only one that could challenge that ball. Just kept things a bit neutral in the midfield. That's a pass down. Kiva pops it up high and looks for another pass inside. mLux looks to take the opportunity, slows it down, up towards the backboard. No follow, though, will allow a good clear.
Kiva drops back here, allowing mYinsanity to hold his possession. One demo, and Jerome must be licking his lips here as VisionGaming done that on Sunday, but unfortunately not able to be converted here. And another attempt here to the back wall, and Kiva should be considering flicking that one on, but unfortunately not able to do so.
Yeah, lack of boost stopped anything from happening there. That's a pass inside, and you think if If Scythe just kept his position there, instead of just charging for that ball, it was an opportunity. But again, it's all about the ifs and buts. There's no absolutes at the moment. It's mYinsanity does send that one up high. Hexos there to pick it up. Kiva, it's bumped in the air, and this is a dangerous challenge by Seraph. He leaves Miska awkward on that back line.
Oh, that's not awkward. This is something. It could be an opportunity. mYinsanity, mind you, Taylor and Swifty with one shot here. Norwis awkward. Should be a goal out of this. And how's that one?
Well, that's a clear-cut mistake on the backboard, isn't it? I feel like Narwhal, yeah, left awkward, tried to recover, but it was such a hard hit on that back line, and it was taken perfectly by Mystica. 1-0 to Scythe of Seraph, and well, I said they needed to come out and get the goal early on. It's been 2.5 minutes, but that'll do, I think, for Scythe of Seraph. They can look now to try and double their lead, while mYinsanity are going to have to change up their game a little bit.
Well, they're going to have to defend before they can think of changing anything right now, as mYinsanity tries to get it through down. Helix is there, Keever's likewise past one, and it will be a shot on target. Good save as Keever was looking for the demo or the bump here, either or would have resulted to the goal itself. About 2 minutes still left on the clock for game 4, and for SOS here, their playoffs is not over and done, but a 3-2 loss still keeps them at least with the game differential before that horrible admin will have to sit there and calculate how, unfortunately, the head-to-heads went after it.
Yeah, absolutely. If they walk away with a 3-2 loss, it's not the end of the world for them, because ADE needs a perfect sweep against the 6th place side of Nap on Money here. So that is another game to even look out for this week. Everything is so tightly knit, even after 6 weeks of play. Things can still shake up down to the last game. That's the beauty of this league. Everyone's so tightly packed together that one result can change the entire dynamic of the table. And the one result that mYinsanity are looking for is a standard 3-1 win, and mYinsanity is giving them that opportunity.
Well, you need a man for the big occasions. mYinsanity needed the defence. Not as good as it was hoping for, and essentially with about 80 seconds left on the clock here, one more goal is essentially enough to send this game done and dusted. mYinsanity will not need to blink at the league table. It's not an episode of like Doctor Who. You can keep your eyes on to it before the Weekman Angels decide to snap for break something.
50 in the midfield, and that was Hexos to get onto this one. Get a beat on one. It's up high and uncomfortable for Kiva. We'll get the flip reset though. Try and disrupt that play a little bit, but Swaffy read that well on the side. While that pass inside, not amounting to much though. I will say their infield passes have been kept at bay by mYinsanity so far. And with 50 seconds to make a decision now, it's whether or not you go all out or play it till overtime if you side the Seraph. mYinsanity, they've got all the comfort in the world here in the final couple of seconds. Hexos carry this, and Narwhal gets beat out, so another beat here will be perfect, and it's done just that. Where's the follow though, Danny?
That's going to be the question that may unfortunately be ruining here, but back it goes here for attempt number at least 6 in this particular game. That's a wayward shot for mYinsanity to tip it away, and there's going to be nearly no defending here. Swifty's going to be that's a decent save. He looks to drop it right through here. No boost here with other than one for the double touch. Has been tipped away for Kaver. It has been a game of ifs, buts and maybes. But there is one thing certainly. There's nobody bigger than Jeromus.
Yeah, my head may have looked massive on the stream, but this is a massive turning point now for both sides. mYinsanity going to play in with their hearts on the table. Side of Seraph are going to throw everything they can at it. An early goal here would have sent them to Champions Field. They're on the attack. This ball dropped down. Kiva's got a long ball clear. The net's open-ish. No, Swepley is back for that, but a great challenge by Kiva. Will keep that pressure on mYinsanity. But again, it's that thought of being in overtime. They don't want to overcommit too far.
Well, they might have to consider when to go. Swifty, Hexus, should be dropping down to their third here to the backboard. That's a loose one. Has to give that one up. But mYinsanity decides to drop everything here like a young baker with the first in the scene, 60 eggs. Too much and too hot to handle in the kitchen. Back it goes for Mistia, off to the wall. Keever awkward, should be a low shot right into the position where there's two defenders, not able to have a risk assessment to the problem there. Keever pops it, and a minute has gone by, and mYinsanity realistically had about 3 opportunities against them, and all 3 should have been scored against them.
Velox fakes out one, gets a beat on the other. It's straight to the backboard. Mystica then will pick this one up, has to decide what he wants to do with the ball. Will get a beat on one, but Melox waiting patiently under that ball. That's a crazy challenge by Seraph, it has to be said. Leaves Hexos awkward in the back. A demo comes through. Mystica will pick this one up and send it downfield. That's a beat on Kiva though. If Mystica had something to work with, we may be seeing an attacking opportunity. That'll do. Hexos with a tap towards the backboard. Swiftly has to be there. Finds a shot. It's a direct shot. It finds the top left. I didn't hype that up to be anything, but it didn't have to be anything special. It was sent directly towards the top left, and no defender was ready for it.
You don't have to be special. You just have to be you. And that's a pure example of it. Right at the heart, or just top left, either way. It's a cheeky wink, probably, given that we had webcams there of the players. But that by Swifty was the moment to say, mYinsanity, your fate's still within our control. And that's been somewhat the story of it here.
Okay, Cass, I see you've had your fun. What have you done with the camera? 2-2 is the series scoreline. And we have... I need to stop. I need to stop looking at the stream. We have a hell of a game 5 on our hands. Scythe of Seraph are looking comfortable now for that playoff spot after that game, but it's whether or not they want to make it a final nail in the coffin. If they take this one, they're comfortable. Remember, if mYinsanity take this one, Scythe of Seraph have to wait for ADE to win, well, 3-0. They have to watch that game with close eyes and pray that Napa Money take a game off them. But it all comes down to this, Danny. We head to Champions Field.
Certainly do. And sometimes at small margins, big players, it doesn't matter the situation, there is always that essential feeling in the bottom of your sort of chest, and you're sort of going, will we need to go to the distance? And it's pretty much always going to be yes. One game to decide a guaranteed, or is simply at the edge of your seat. Game 5 for mYinsanity, or essentially save our souls.
Here we are then, initial kickoff, not actually meaning a threat for either side at the moment. Hexos does pick that one up, flip reset popped immediately, and Mystica towards the backboard. Is there going to be something special left for Swelby? The worst shot percentage of, well, one of the worst shot percentages of the league so far. Managed to be that deciding goal in game number 4, so who's to say nothing special can happen, but that's an absolutely shambolic defensive effort from Scythe of Seraph. Swelby, I was just hyping him up to be a clinical shot, and Mystica trying to find the follow, left isolated for Narwhal to just come flying in.
First drop of the blood in this decider. It will probably be the last between these two sides. A 5-0, 2-3, a 4-0 by mYinsanity before we even thought of the 2-1 in OT. And Swifty just saw that ball glide across his head here. Unfortunately, he's not at the barber's. He would have had at least a fresh trim, but it may be for the bus stop here.
Because if mYinsanity get 2 here, it might be the end for Scythe of Seraph. We saw what happened in game number 3. We went 2-0 down and couldn't recover at all. Looks to clear, but Hexos is there. Touch the Mystica. Mystica towards that corner. Looks for a same follow there by Swelby, but Kiva's waiting downfield. This is a quick counter. This is a pass inside. This is a fake out, and no shot converted by mYinsanity, even though that opportunity could have played a little better for them.
Just as experience would dictate, knowing when to even pull that off. Even the luxury of a 1-0. They fancied the second one. It nearly paid off here, but their defensive work, they get back on to it that way. Need to be tipped away much better than game 1, as we saw them struggle. As Norwalk try to follow through, Hexos should be popping that one downfield here at all cost here, and pretty much zero boost on the 2 remaining defenders now.
Yeah, decide to play patient, and that's cost them here in this defensive third. Swelfie does well to get it up, and Hexos will find the follow. mYinsanity, the last defender there, picking it up, full tank, and will carry this downfield. Doesn't get the pinch, will leave Swelfie awkward, but that's a great demo by Mystica. Allows Swelfie to carry this. Pass to Mystica. Mystica will leave it for Hexos. Hexos carrying it, and the communication is still there. Called off that ball, but is it too little, too late? Probably not, surely not. There's still 3 minutes left.
Well, you know what? You may not get the opportunity the way mYinsanity's been going. But I would have sat there and said that should have been a shot blast at the moment. The ball popped up, never mind going for the flip reset. But modern players with their modern ways, sometimes knocking it forward is the right thing to do. But unfortunately, mYinsanity's closed the door, and old school defending certainly paid off that time.
looks like a boost. That's a double demo for Scythe. The Seraph, there's an opportunity. It's wide and saved by Narwhal. That was as clear cut of a chance you were going to get. Two defenders didn't even exist on the pitch. But just like that, it's cleared downfield, and Scythe the Seraph will be kicking themselves that they haven't equalised here.
Joe, that was, as you said, clear cut. There's no arguments about it. I mean, Castle, the moment he sat there and thought about how can I bully Aromas, let's make him as small as possible and pick him up here. Well, you could have sat about 100 Aromas with the gap into that situation. It was massive, huge, gigantic, whatever bit of the thesaurus you can use. But the defence that time around was diabolical from mYinssanity. You just have to look at Norwalk.
Yeah, 1-1. And it's been two dismal defensive efforts here from both sides, which have allowed these goals to fall in. Swelfie, though, will carry this. Gets a beat on one, surely. Not on the second. Nope. Denied by mYinssanity, and Hexos facing backwards. It's dangerous. Had to consider whether or not going up for that one. It's faked out, though, and that's it. It's 2-1. It's 2-1 to Scythe the Seraph, because there was meant to be an expected touch from mYinssanity or anyone on that pitch. They just weren't expecting it to be a direct shot towards net. Scythe of Seraph, after being 1-0 down in 21 seconds, have taken the lead.
And as this was the Premiership over in England, you would have probably seen the VAR check on that one and take about 8 minutes to decide it. Thankfully not here, as Helix will be looking at that one. Dropped it goes. Norwalk is up here 70 seconds from arguably the favourites of mYinssanity to get the job done, to be the ones to dictate everything. They were from the get-go of this campaign of the day. It has yet to transform and translate into pure absolute pandemonium caused here. Back it goes with Keever from the deeps of his own final third here, and he's essentially passed that one to his opposition counterparts.
There was a terrible touch, recovered well though. Mystica has to get here, does so, and will carry this one towards the corner. Keever's going to be there. A tap into the mid will do, and Narwhal is there, pops it up high. Keever looking for a drop down pass, it will find it. Mystica has to clear it, facing the complete wrong way, but mYinsaniity is there, tries to find the angle, nothing to it. 30 seconds left, and all the pressure on Scythe the Seraph to get this ball out, but it doesn't matter. We have two players sat in their own half.
Well, thankfully we didn't have Teletubby defending. It could be Lala or Whoopsie Ooh. And that one not being put in through either. There's going to be certainly a few noises made by mYinssanity. They slipped that one through the bottom corner.
What? Swelfie getting cleared by the player there. Mystica just wasn't there. Neither was Hexos. It was just a tap into the right, to the left-hand side of the net. 2-2, 13 seconds. We could see this to overtime, but it all comes down to this kickoff. mYinssanity oversteps his mark. Mystica's there, has control, flicks it up high. Narwhal will get it clear, but it's not the best. Hexos to Swelfie now. This ball lingers. mYinssanity leaves it. Keever keeps it up. Mystica's going to try and find the angle. mYinssanity with the tap down, and we do go to overtime in game number 5.
No mistakes permitted. It is essentially one play will be enough. One blink and it has simply gone past you. mYinssanity has seen that a few, but a lifetime of the eyes open by Sarah's side. They unfortunately conceded by Keever. That one was let wide open here, and Keever's very much quick to let them know about it.
It all came down to yet again another defensive blunder from Scythe of Seraph. mYinssanity take the series 3-2 and secure themselves a playoff spot. But my word, What a way to wrap it up. 2 overtimes back to back, both going either way. And that is pain for Scythe and Seraph. But again, defensive mistakes is what's cost them here.
Well, the fact is that you can just sort of look at the sort of situation that it was 2 OTs in game 4 and 5, and you could arguably sit there and say mYinsanity should have won it in 4. But, you know, when you're in that situation and you somewhat, you know, got back into the game, you were leading arguably. The one thing you don't do is set up like, you know, 10-pin bowling. I mean, are you looking to be striked out, or, you know, gobble turkey time? That's essentially what they were.
It's been an impressive showing from both sides. The resilience of Scythe and Seraph to get back up and, you know, take games, but mYinsanity just consistent throughout. We're able to score plenty of goals and able to show that Scythe and Seraph, we're not here to sit around and allow you to play all over us. And what a brilliant series we've had here on this Tuesday night, and the table has now been updated here, Dan.
Well, certainly so, and you know, we could sit here and sort of break things down here, and, you know, very politely, sort of the top 2 sides, T2 and VG, will be on the main channel, will be talking about for that top spot seed here. But where we've been sitting here at the start of today here was mYinsanity sitting for what they needed to win. And suddenly you look at it, you go, well, where have they ended up? Quite nicely, sitting in the 3rd spot, and now safely locked into themselves the 3rd place arguing seeding as well here.
So the game in the table then that we're keeping an eye on here is ADE versus Nap on money. Now this, you know, Addicted Esports are very much in contention of playoff spot if they win every game against Nap on money. ADE beat Scythe of Seraph. So if they tie on game difference, which I'm pretty sure is a 3-1 result for ADE, will mean that ADE will go into 4th place and snipe that final position. Nap on money are just playing to stop ADE from getting that playoff out of spite.
Certainly is, and I'm just sort of looking at the numbers as well as what we're being told here, roughly, and what you were sort of sitting there and saying here. Essentially, you know, a 3-0 by ADE, you know, it's quite a nice somewhat situation here. You're through no matter what here. But it's a very polite sense. Any sort of shape of a win does the job for them because of the head-to-head record, and suddenly you're going, you know, essentially they're just praying for another team's downfall, which is, you know, something that you do not want to be in. And frankly, you know, SOS was in that situation. You know, a 2-3 gives them the best possible outcome if they lost. If they dropped 3-1 here, you know, that safety net would have been non-existent here.
The thing is, they pray for the downfall against the team that they lost 3-0 to. If anyone has any right of getting that playoff spot, it'll be Addicted Esports with a 3-1 result. It could be as close as that, right? Where they win on head-to-head. And to be fair, I think that's completely fair in my eyes. If you wanna push and win that game 3-1, win the spot by game difference, I say absolutely go for it.
Well, Joe, it's going to be a headache in terms of, you know, just sitting there being in the sort of the VC. I mean, during our respective careers, if you want to call it, you know, whether it was league tables or sort of say playoff matches to some degree, sitting there waiting for that moment and knowing essentially one goal will do the difference here. SOS was essentially in that situation. ADE will be effectively causing the same outcomes. Just how good is your nerve in the key moments?
Gentlemen, what a final week. Honestly, you've got the top 2 fighting for the top spot. You've got these 4 midfield teams now. One is secured. mYinsanity can sit there comfortable. But Scythe, Seraph, and ADE are basically, well, they don't play each other, but they're both going to be staring at each other's games with close eyes. This result has come in, so ADE, Scythe, Seraph will be watching that like a hawk. Ladies first and dive, we're already out of the contention, but this one game determines what type of side the T2 or VisionGaming will be playing in the semi-finals when that result comes in as well.
Well, certainly so, and you know what, it's going to be that sort of situation you look at and sort of going, what is playoff or what is LAN going to look at, who's going to be what and everything is going to be shaping off it. And we're literally being told, as what you essentially alluded to, AD versus Com and everything else, what's possibility of it. But that's 7 weeks worth of league play in playoffs, in LAN, in that environment. It is a different ball game together. It is essentially win at all costs, and how you do it is on the day, never mind across the campaign. But to Romus, this essentially at this point is the talk is cheap. At this point, it's now action's going to be the loudest part.
So, and I think everybody from VisionGaming, this will be us signing out. mYinsanity 3, Scythe of Seraph 2, mYinsanity, as iterated, have secured playoff spot. Scythe of Seraph will be sat there waiting for the ADE versus Com matchup. And we'll be back live on your screens when we get the time and date that VisionGaming are playing T2 for that top spot in the league table. I've been DeRomus, alongside me has been Danny Boy, and we shall see you guys very soon.